What's up, everybody? Skyhook Garage here, and today we got another accessory installation on the 2020 Africa Twin. And what we're doing today is going to be the center stand install. Go over a couple of the associated parts that come in the kit. I'm going to show you guys what's involved with doing some bench work on it first, and then we'll get to the install on the motorcycle itself. All right, so here we have the center stand, all its associated parts. Down in the description below, there's a link. You take that link, it's going to take you to Honda Power Sports Accessories website. It's going to take you directly to this center stand kit. Along with that link that you take, there will also be a PDF file for the installation instructions for the center stand. This install isn't all that difficult. It's pretty straightforward. The only difficult part is going to be getting these springs attached to the center stand from the hinge pivot point once you do the install. Mainly because the bike's leaned over to the left-hand side, Honda, even in the instructions, recommend that you have a second person to help stabilize the bike so it doesn't fall over while you're yanking on the springs, but it also allows the other person to potentially lean the bike over to the right side a little bit so you can access these springs and get to them a bit easier and install them a little bit easier. Now, with the kit, you're going to have the center stand, two bumpers, a black square one for the left side, a gray round one for the right side. You're going to have a circlip washer and the circlip, ring clip, whatever you want to call it. Then you'll have the hinge pivot arm. This is going to go on a pin that's already on the bike. Springs are going to hook into this hole here. This is going to be mobile. And the two springs. Pretty heavy duty. They come with the rubber isolators on them. That way so they don't, because they're going to be squished together to each other so they don't wear against each other too much. So, some tools you're going to need. Obviously the ring clip pliers. You'll need the ones that spread apart as you squeeze them. Just like that. You'll need a tool of some sort to grab a hold of the springs. I'm using this ancient drum brake installation tool. I'm going to see if I can yank on these enough. It kind of captures it real nice. You can use many different things. I might end up using these vice grips here. That's why they're sitting out here. I'm not sure yet. And we'll see what happens once I get to that point. You'll need a little bit of grease. I got some old CV grease laying around. Don't use Never Seas. Not that I don't like Never Seas, but the grease is going to be going on components that move back and forth. Never Seas is more for something that is bolted together and you want to be able to remove that bolt at a later time. The graphite and the Never Seas can sometimes create excessive wear on components that move. So you want a non-metallic grease. Any type of grease would be good. A little bit of soapy water. You use these to install the bushings. So let's get started. First things first, bushings have a little tab on the inside, a little groove in there. They're going to fit into the holes on the base of the side stand here, center stand. Spray a little bit on there, and you're just going to work it into the hole. Twist it back and forth. Just try to work that groove in. You don't really want to use any tools to get at it. You don't want to mar up the rubber. End up damaging that. The soapy water is going to assist you and help that rubber push down into that hole. Once that one's installed, twist it around a bunch, make sure it's in all the way around. That one's good to go. Do the same thing on the black square one. This one you're not going to be able to twist around simply because of the square nature of it. It's up against a stop right here on the one side. Might have to use a little bit of something to help it get in there and pop in there. Yeah, little screwdriver or anything with a pointed end. Don't go crazy, just get it started on the one side, hold down with some good pressure, and then use the tool to get in there and just gently work that other end of the lip into the hole. Once those are in, nice and secure. All right, the next step is going to be, while we're up here, we're going to do a little bit of grease. Put our handy dandy gloves on. This grease is known to the state of California to cause birth defects and other reproductive harm. But if you live in the rest of the United States, I guess it's not supposed to do that to you. So anyway, dab a little bit of grease. We're going to prep this part right here. Put a little bit of grease in there. Get it worked in there nice and evenly. You don't have to be super clean with it, but you don't want to go nuts either. All you're doing is you're just trying to promote the part from wearing as those springs move back and forth. Little coat of grease on that. And a little bit of grease inside these holes here. This is the point at which the center stand is going to be making contact with the bike. There's little rods that are on the bike, so you're going to put a little bit of grease in here. We'll put some grease on the other side of the bike once we get over there. But this is just some quick prep work. Good to go. They're going to want us to put grease on this, but I'm going to hold off on that until it's on the bike. That way I'm not bumping it with my arms and getting grease all over myself trying to put the center stand on the bike. So I'll move the camera over to the bike, down to the bottom. All right, so you're going to want to put a little bit more grease on the inside of this hole on the left side. Now what I realized was putting grease on the inside hole on the left side of that center stand was not really the right way to do it, being that the outside of that piece is what goes on the inside of this hole here. So, no big deal. We wiped it out, cleaned it out, put the grease where it's supposed to be. On the right-hand side of the bike, there's a rod that sticks out. It's got a bolt on the end of it. That's going to be the right side of the center stand going over that. Put a little bit of grease on that guy. Once you get that done, you can put the center stand in. It's going to go into the left side hole and over the right side bar. Just like that. Might be helpful to have another individual over there, give you some eyeballs. Now what we're going to want to do is, going to want to put that circlip on. Going to want to put the washer on first. Grease is going to kind of help it stay right where it's supposed to be. Then you're going to want to put the circlip on. Squeeze it just enough to get it over the end of the rod. And you're definitely going to want to inspect it, make sure that it got into that groove on the center stand. You don't want it just hanging on the end of that rod there. You want to make sure that it actually is on the center stand and in the groove, which this is. Looks good. All right. Center stand's going to sit up like this. And now for the install of the springs. If you can see, I'm going to try to get some light on it real quick. This rod right here, that's what the end of this is going to sit on. The opening is going to be at the bottom. I'm going to put that up on there. All right. Then the springs are going to go through this. Now you want the two springs at the base, you want them curved towards each other. So the right side's going to be like this, left side's going to be like that. So the best way to do it is just when you put these in here, put the left side facing out up at the attachment point, and then the right side's going to go in facing out the other way. And you can see not a whole lot of room to get it on there. So let that hardware hang for a second. We're actually going to remove one of these springs and try this one at a time. Might be a little bit easier. Grab my handy dandy drum tool and see if that works. Probably going to knock the camera trying to do this, but that is really tight. We're going to get a helper out here real quick and see if we can get this on here. Okay, so I ran into a little bit of an issue. My helper was unavailable, had to do this solo. And like I said in the beginning of the video, it'd be really helpful if you had someone else to give you a hand with getting these springs onto the center stand here. Now, as you can see, the center stand is already installed with the springs, and I'm not really going to have much of a video. It took me about half an hour to try to manipulate these springs to get them over to this tab here. Now, the tricks that I had for doing that were I just basically had to find a correct tool that would allow me to pry the springs, up and enough, basically get a hold of them on the hook ends there and flip them over this portion right here. Now, as you can see, both of them are in there and on there. Now, the first one wasn't too hard to get on. I was able to use this tool here that I just showed you. This here is a body panel clip remover. It has a little bit of a leveraged couple bends in it there, and it really helped me get up in there. Now, I'm not saying this is what you're going to have to use, but you're probably going to have to go through your toolbox and find something that is going to be able to have the correct bends in it and get it pried on properly. Now, the first thing I did was I ended up taping the center stand up. I grabbed it with some painter's tape here and ran the painter's tape up to the rear set, the passenger rear set bar right here, and that was able to keep the center stand up. And like I said before, with the center stand up, you're going to have the shortest distance that these springs have to travel in order to get on that hook. As the center stand moves down through its mode of travel, those springs get stretched, and it's harder to make that distance between that point and the bottom point down there. Now, with with the center stand taped up, I was able to take this screwdriver here, or body clip removal tool, and hopefully the camera, you can see up in there, I was able to hook it on the spring, grab the hook end of the spring, put it on the bar of the screwdriver, and it allowed me to pry on the center of the rear swing arm there. So I was able to pry it up and over that clip there, the little tang there that those springs ride in. Like I said, the first one that went in was pretty easy to get on. It wasn't too difficult. I ended up being able to get that on in a couple minutes. But getting that second one on there, because as you can see, I apologize for the shaky camera work. The two springs, they push against each other, and the first one goes on and it sits in there nice and straight, and then when the second one tries to go on there, you're basically pulling it against that first one, and they're both, two springs are trying to ride in one spot, and it makes the second spring install super difficult. So having a second person out here would be helpful, but the only thing I could think of is they would just kind of stabilize the bike and maybe hold on to the front brake and so the bike doesn't move around on you like that. So definitely worth it to have a second person out here. And they can also, if you don't have tape or you don't have a way to hold up the center stand in the upward position, they can kind of do that for you there. So unfortunately, like I said, the cutting and editing, me trying to get those springs on, it would have been a 30-minute video trying to explain how to do that. So I hope at least this part was a little bit helpful. Yeah, you're just going to have to come up with some mechanical ingenuity to find some tool that's going to be able to grab those springs and get that tang over the end of the hook on the spring. So hope you guys have good luck with that. And let me know if you guys had any other ways to do it in the comment section below. And it definitely, having the center stand on the bike makes it way easier to do the services to the chain and lube the chain and change tires and all that kind of stuff. It makes it easier in the trail too. If you're riding with the bike, if you have a puncture, you can get it up and spin it instead of laying the bike over on a log or something like that. So again, hope this video was helpful. Subscribe, like this video, and I'm going to be posting a bunch more accessories, hopefully with a bit more success as this center stand was. And like I said before at the beginning of the video, the center stand install was probably, if you didn't have to put those springs on, it would easily be a 2 out of 10. Very easy, very straightforward. But with those spring installations, this easily bumps it up into the hard territory, and you're looking at like, 6 or 7 out of 10, especially if you don't have tools to pry that spring over properly. I couldn't use the vice grips, the spring's too tight. I couldn't yank on that spring enough to get it stretched enough over that tang. I really just had to use a prying tool. The drum spring tool that I ended up having on the bench over here, that didn't really help me. I didn't have enough room under there. The leverage was too long, and it just ended up just smacking everything under the bike. I didn't have the room for it. So let me know what you guys do, if you guys do the install, down in the comments below, and maybe you guys have a better trick on getting this done. Real quick side note, these upper air wind deflectors, that was on a previous episode of working on the accessories on this bike, and I have to say, primo. For as subtle as they are and as small as they are, they do so much to get the air away from the upper portion. I notice a lot less wind in my neck area and on my chest, and even a little bit less on my shoulders and whatnot. So much worth the price. I mean, they were only $40, free shipping and whatnot, but definitely worth it to get those installed. And I can't wait to do the lower wind deflectors. So hope you like this video, and until next time, thanks for watching.